have had a bunch of fun this week because I get to fly one of my favorite airplanes in the world, and that's a King Air 200. It's a little bit on the older side for a King Air, but this thing is super nice. Black Hawk conversion, brand new Garmin panel that's absolutely gorgeous. Paint and interior are beautiful. And more importantly, I got to fly with one of my very best clients that I've been around for a long time. I've got Patrick Turner in the house. Patrick, welcome to the Malibu Guru Podcast. I kind of feel like sort of like the King Air Guru podcast today, but it's the Malibu Guru.
We're changing pace.
We're changing pace. We're speeding things up, aren't we?
Thanks for having me. It's been a fun week.
It has been a fun week. I'll tell you, and it's been a fun time because we've been able to you went into a King Air and it's actually worked out really, really well. And
loving it so far.
Loving it so far. Hey, before we go there, let's go back into history because if people go back to episode 24, I think I'm
used to being the young guy in the room, and now you're making me feel old. But yeah, it's been a while.
You're just OG.
Yeah.
You were one of the original. You were at the very begining of the Malibu Guru podcast.
Yeah, we did it on an iPhone.
We did. I mean, literally, it was. We've gotten a little more sophisticated as far as that's concerned. But it is better. And again, you were here in the very early days of really the early days of a lot that we do at KC Aviation.
It's been fun to watch you guys expand.
You've had a cat's eye seat of what do we do here at KC
We're doing
Aviation?
training, now we're doing aircraft brokering, now we're doing maintenance, now we're expanding our aircraft. It's fun to watch. I'm really excited for you guys.
It's been a blast. If you go back into history, your first foray, as we talked about earlier, you got in probably 20 years ago that you got into aviation?
I check rode the summer after my senior year in high school, actually.
Yeah.
Got my instrument the next summer and had a little Archer that just kind of kept me in the game, and then law school hit and I kind of got out of it for a while.
Yeah.
That getting started phase. Sold a company in my late 20s and got into a Mirage before I knew you.
Yeah.
That was 597 Kilo Charlie, and I sold that plane to you, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But how many times has that plane been in your possession now?
597 Kilo Charlie it is one of those, I think we sold it 7 times.
So the first day I get down here, seeing the new office in Lufkin, which I absolutely love, by the way, you have a little stick with a model airplane on it hanging on your wall, and it's with 597 Kilo Charlie, which kind of...
I have definite affinity for 597 Kilo Charlie, and it just sold literally last week or so, like Michael Bentham. If you're out there, Michael ended up getting this airplane at one point, but he just got through selling it because he just bought a jet prop.
Yep.
And 597 Kilo Charlie is going to be living down in the Houston area. It's great.
I loved that airplane because it was the first time that I felt like I was flying a real airplane.
Right.
But we were, my in-laws live in DC. We were seeing them quite a bit. We're flying over the Appalachians. I got a bunch of kids in the back, and I called you because I didn't really like my initial training in that airplane. I wanted to go ahead and schedule my recurrent, and I had enough money in a 2013, this is a decade ago, G1000 Mirage that, for the same money or damn near about, we could really be in the world of turbine. And so you talked me into a 2001 Meridian at that time that we stripped down to the bones. All it had on it was a good engine and airframe.
Yep.
We stripped it down to the bones, new interior, new paint, new panel. And I'll be honest, that was one of my favorite airplanes that I've ever had.
You give me an early Meridian with a Garminized panel, nice paint, nice interior, and I'll show you a really, really good airplane.
The only reason that I ever left that airplane was because I had too many kids. And when our kids leave the house, if we're not ferrying them or taking grandkids places later in life, my wife and I will get back into a Meridian.
Right. Yeah.
Like it just...
If you got 4 people or less and you're riding around, Meridian is probably, you got 800 nautical miles or less, 4 people or less. I don't think you can get better than a Meridian.
Yeah, at 3 hours, I'm stopping for the bathroom anyways. No one's in that big a hurry in my life when we're traveling, and it is a wonderful platform.
Yeah, efficient, fast, climbs good, cruises fast, wonderful panel. It's an airplane that's great. But if you need to go a little further, or if you need to carry more than 4 people, and you need to be under max gross weight, obviously, you got to move up an airplane. That's what you did.
That was our challenge. We had a few too many kids. We have 4, and we were struggling to get places. We were struggling to load bags, and the M600 looked like a wonderful upgrade at the time. We were in a good spot, and we got a brand new, at the time, 2021 M600 SLS Autoland, the whole 9 yards. It was an absolute blast to fly. And we had that plane for a couple years, actually.
And did you like it? Because we really haven't talked about that since your episode 24. We haven't talked about that. Let's talk about, what did you think of the M600 SLS?
Wonderful plane.
What was your favorite part about it?
One, the leather smelled new, and that was a super cool feeling. I hadn't had that before.
They make a spray.
Yeah, right. I need to burn a candle or something. But there were things that I loved about that compared to the Meridian, and things I really didn't like about it. And I'm not sure it was about the airplane or the ownership process. But when you buy a brand new airplane, this wasn't something I was prepared for, is that first 6 to 12 months, you're going to be working out the kinks.
Right.
Now, it's all under warranty. It's all great. And I was very lucky to have a service center, and my dealer was literally one airport over. So it wasn't a huge burden. But that first 8 months felt like we had a lot of work to get it ironed out. Nothing major, just, while it was under warranty, you're tipping everything off, you're making it perfect. And we got it to a nice, stable place eventually. But that 2001 Meridian had gone through all that growing pain, and it was just perfect.
People will think of, if you go buy a brand new Ford F-150 or a BMW off the factory floor, again, they're making millions of these types of cars. The iterations are phenomenal. And realistically, you really get a pretty good vehicle with hardly any squawks coming out. Airplanes, Piper's making 80 of these a year.
Not a ton.
I don't mean that to sound like they can't make a good airplane, but the airplanes are way more specific, way more delicate, way more intricate,
more custom.
If you buy a brand new aircraft, that does not mean it's going to be. I'm not throwing Piper under the bus.
No, nothing about this was bad. Like, it was just something unexpected in the ownership process. Right. Now I'm going to pull back here. My 2001 Meridian had an S-Tech 3100 autopilot in it. It didn't have GFC 600. I don't think it was approved at that time. Right. So what I didn't get in that airplane was a lot of the integration that came with the M600. So one of my favorite things about the M600 beyond that new car smell was everything: the pressurization system, the fuel system,
everything went through the G3000,
the auto throttle. Everything was so seamless and integrated. Now, do I wish that the big screens were touch screens rather than those little GTNs? Yeah, but I'm splitting hairs here now. The way that plane operated the integration was a phenomenal part of that plane. Right. And you got very in tune with that plane very quickly. Not necessarily stick and rudder in tune, because that takes time with anything. But from the avionics platform and just IFR deployment, it was an incredibly robust platform just to get in and get a good sink in.
M600 is an absolutely wonderful airplane. It is an absolutely complicated from an integration. Like, in other words, there's so much going through the G3000.
Yep.
It'll never be anything but a G3000 airplane. They're never going to adapt it. And it's always going to be that, which is okay because it works. Everything is such a robust system. And it works so good, all integrated. But you can have troubles. I'm telling you, I hate to say it, I've had more people that have trouble with the auto throttles lately. Yeah. That I like the auto throttle, but I've had troubles with the auto throttle.
I never had an issue with it. And one of the things that, I had that Mirage, and it was a G1000 aircraft, and it was the platform that I was very comfortable with. And one of the things that I am very grateful that you did for me was you said, don't be a G1000 addict. TXIs, GTNs, G3000. There's a whole plethora of platforms that are very intuitive, easy to use, and to go from one to another shouldn't be a showstopper for anybody.
That's right.
And for me, the auto throttle was an incredibly robust system. Never had an issue with it. Absolutely loved it. And honestly, my biggest fear about moving into the King Air that we're in now was that I was going to give that feature up.
Let's talk about that.
I actually sold that airplane and didn't know what I was going to move into, and I was out of the game for a while.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You sold your M600 and basically went into a season of no airplane. Yeah. Why did you sell the M600?
It's the dark ages. So, when I had very, very young kids, still having kids, built a company, sold it, and I worked for like 8 years at the company that bought mine. And wonderful place, loved the people. And that's when I had my Meridian. I was traveling for work a lot. I had my Mirage. I was traveling quite a bit. And I kind of wanted to get back to my own business. And so
owning your own business.
Owning my own business.
You're an entrepreneur at
We've gone through a couple companies. Yeah. I like working for myself and building and creating new businesses more than I like working for a salary. And so we sold the M600 when, when the company was, I started this company on the side when it started making enough to take me on full time. It had enough to make me on full time, not full time plus an M600 plus, the expenses that go with, plus the, everything going on in life. And so we stepped out of aviation for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I would say two things happened. We took our first commercial flight and we went to go see my in-laws. Okay. And there was a little something to be said. What I wasn't stressing about flight planning. Someone else was taking care of the whole thing. Indianapolis International is actually an incredibly easy airport to fly out of. You show up 25 minutes early, you're at
and you
TSA.
live fairly near it.
It's international is as close as my local airport. So that first day I was like, okay, this is a little less work to go do. Okay, then we had the return flight. It was not the same thing. TSA was awful. We had to get there forever early, getting dropped off and dragging bags with 4 kids everywhere, checking them through. And then we went to Turks and Caicos for spring break, and we sat in like a 10 by 10 room with no air conditioning for 4 hours waiting for our flight to board with no seats, just standing. And right when we pulled into the airport, I saw a TBM 940 take off. And I was like, okay, this is the problem.
There is a better way to do this.
There is a better way to do it. So, that's when I called you and said, all right, listen, kids are getting a little bit big. The M600 carried everything that we needed to, but we were knocking knees together a little bit. And the bigger that they got, the bigger the problem was. You can aft load it pretty easily, and we were carrying more baggage. And not that we constantly travel with more than 100 pounds of luggage or anything, but if you got skiing,
if you have a family of 6, 4 kids, 2 adults, the baggage will be full.
Yep.
Period.
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom. And
you're getting everybody seated, and then you quickly run to the cockpit to get weight forward.
That's right. That's exactly. Or you get in there first and you teach your wife how to close the door so that, properly, so that there is.
You don't know my wife, Joe.
Yeah.
One of the most brilliant people I've met. Closing that door still eludes her.
There is a technique. There's an art to it. Right. But I will tell you, if Piper ever does what if you're listening, Piper, put a baggage compartment in the front of your M700. Yeah. I'm telling you, they ever put a baggage compartment in the front of an M700, they will sell 100 more airplanes that year.
I totally agree.
It's the thing, because
we missed it when we moved out of the Mirage. It was the thing that we missed the most.
It's the thing you missed the most.
Yeah.
And because not only do you have more room to put stuff, but now you got room to put stuff that counters weight. So you feel better about throwing 2 bags up in the front. You just gave yourself a mountain of room, and you threw the weight and balance to where you feel comfortable. Not, am I going to jump on the stairs to get in the airplane and this thing's going to tilt back on its tail?
100%.
You're not thinking that.
No. And really with the M600, like in the Meridian, that was kind of a big worry constantly. Mm-hmm. In the M600, it really was a tremendous improvement. I can't tell you how much we enjoyed that airplane, from a load them up and go when my kids were that young. But they're not getting that young anymore.
They're growing.
They're getting older.
And they're growing. And they're
makes me feel older. I don't like it.
And they're gaining friends.
Yeah.
We're not talking about age here, bro. Trust me, you got a lot fewer gray hairs than I got. So we are not. But the point is that your kids get older.
Yeah.
And when they get older, again, they have friends. They have social networks, and
mission creep is real.
Mission creep is absolutely real. And here's the other side of it: is just about any airplane you fly. Just about, I will give a few exceptions, but just about any airplane, you could subtract 2 seats, and that's what it's really made for.
Probably.
So in M600, you got 4 people, Meridian, 4 people. You go down a Cessna 172, it's really a 2-person airplane. You're not loading up 4 big people. And you see what I'm saying? There's a few airplanes, like a King Air 350. You can literally load up full fuel, a button every seat, and put baggage on everything and go take off. And the other King Airs are pretty close to the same.
I say that we outgrew the M600, but I'll be clear. Like, we went those couple of years where I was working, I was not flying. We were getting a business off the ground, and I thought that we might just get back into an M600.
Right.
It was a great airplane. Loved it. Like, a King Air really wasn't top of mind, you know?
Yeah. Let's talk about your business for a second. You opened up a business. What do y'all do?
We help physician offices and surgery centers essentially buy their supplies better. I started a business and have worked in an industry entirely around healthcare supply chains since I came out of law school. And the entire industry is built around hospital supply chain. None of it is really built for doctors' offices to competently, take advantage of those systems for best pricing. So
Right.
we wanted to build a system where we can engage with a physician group or, a multi-specialty practice and essentially go negotiate their price for them.
So if somebody's
them.
a spine surgeon and they have an orthopedic, whatever, and they got
100% we have
10 doctors and however many nurses and whatever, then the idea behind it is that you're helping them buy all the stuff that they're going to use, the wear items. Is that the right way?
Exactly.
That they're going to use Band-Aids, gauzes.
I love the Band-Aid example. We're going to buy Band-Aids, table paper, and cotton balls, and 100 other things down to your catheters and ILEA and crazy drugs and all of that.
Yeah.
But we developed a software platform where we manage all of the data and pricing for that shopping experience to make sure that all of their staff, because the vast majority of people placing orders for these places are the nurses. They don't have a procurement staff. They've got one of the nurses or one of the docs or somebody in admin that doesn't do this full time. And we want to go be more deliberate with that data. We want to go customize that shopping experience. It's super easy for them. We do all of the work. And at the end of the day, they save a ton of money and our ROI is huge.
Give a name of the company and a website.
It's Purchase Diagnostics or PDX. And our website is purchasedx.com.
Perfect.
Thanks,
All right.
Joe.
Yep. So let's go on. Let's go back to it because you had a chance now. Basically, you called me up and said, Joe, I want to get back in the game.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. Is it purely intrinsic need, like I need to do this, or are you like missing flying?
No, I miss flying. I will tell you that the weirdest thing for me here is in my prior company, I needed to travel a lot. I haven't traveled in 2 years, because we kind of did this post-COVID. Everyone's doing virtual calls now. My travel, go see a customer needs are actually lower. But I miss flying.
Yeah.
And we still travel with the family a whole lot. And we do still travel for business enough to justify this, under the mechanisms that we're doing it. But I miss flying.
Right.
I really dislike, not to knock the airlines, not to knock the FAA, not to knock TSA, but you put them all together and commercial travel is not fun.
Right.
You bookend the beginning of your trip and the end of your trip ends with not a ton of fun.
Right.
And my kids are at that age now where we're starting to go snow skiing. They're going to get their scuba licenses pretty soon. We're going to more interesting places than grandma and grandpa's house,
Right.
And
they got friends.
And they've got all of that.
Yeah.
And the more that we're going to enter that phase in life where we're taking all these trips with our kids, the more I don't want to bookend it with an unpleasurable experience.
Right.
And
you called me up and basically we had probably, it was probably 45 minutes to an hour of, okay, what airplanes do we go for and how do we do it and blah, blah, blah.
And I got to tell you, that's to give you guys credit. The fact that you take your time with your clients like that it's really unique in the industry with almost anyone that I've encountered.
Thank you.
Whether you sell me an airplane, whether I go buy one on my own, whether I use you for training or somebody else, if I call you and say, hey, walk me through what I need to get here, you're going to give me your 2 cents and you're going to take an hour to do it out of your time, your evening, whenever, which is not a lot of people do that as a resource.
If you can listen to a person and marry their mission, in other words, what airplane is going to make you feel good, what airplane is going to meet the mission that you've got, not going to break the bank, it's in budget. And if you really narrow that, then you end up not shooting a shotgun and seeing what airplane you find,
Yep.
but you end up rifle shooting something.
I didn't necessarily think, I need a twin. You know what I mean? PT6 reliability on a single engine turboprop's amazing. It was not like, okay, I need a second engine to feel safer. Right. That's not where I sat. It was not, do I get this pressure differential in the cabin? It was not any kind of one thing. It was more a combination of what am I going to get? Where's my money best spent, capital and operating, to get what I needed for my family. And we kind of talked about, you could talk about jets and it's you're looking at cash flow versus, capital expense. Whereas in turboprops, you're looking at capital expense over cash flow.
Right.
And so, but you kind of took the time to say, where does that eat you? Where do you like it? And what is your family doing? How old are they? Yeah. Where are you guys going? How do you like to fly?
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
What's interesting is that the Cirrus jet, there's a whole bunch of flack happening out there in the Cirrus jet world because Cirrus basically jumped all their prices up of their programs, basically.
Seen the price of an M700 yet?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Cirrus sent out a letter. Basically, they shrouded it in it doesn't look like as big of an increase, but they took away some of the benefits and added some of the cost and everything. Anyway, it's a big increase, and pretty much there's a whole bunch of jet pilots out there that are thinking, and anybody that flies multi-engine jets, you got a Citation or a Mustang or whatever, you're going to be on a program.
Don't get me wrong, I test flew that M2. And it was cool until you start getting a calculator out.
And here's the part of the emotional side of it is there may be a cost that you could argue there's some benefit to the programs and all that. But the problem is you're writing a check every single month.
And you know what? Like, I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, you're cutting an interest if you're financing an airplane. You know what I mean? Or an opportunity loss if you're paying cash when you're not in the S&P 500. Like, you're paying to fly one way or the other. It's which one can you mentally wrap your head around? And that one just doesn't sound fun.
Right. And for some people, just an emotional thing of I'd rather write one check. I have the asset. It's in my hangar. And now when I go flying, it doesn't feel as expensive. And that's an emotional decision, but it's related. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you could pare this down to the piston pilot as well that goes, a Lycoming is 22 gallons an hour and a Continental is 15 and a half.
100%.
I am going to go, well, they do the same thing. I'm going for the Continental. But now the Continental guy goes, well, hang on a second before you do that, because the Lycoming has 350 horsepower, or in other words, there's benefits. The Lycoming is now $145,000 for a factory reman.
Yep.
Holy smokes, Lycoming, if you're listening, it's too much money. Yeah. You gotta work it back the other way. You did too much. Right now, I mean, I literally was talking to a Lycoming guy yesterday that has an engine at TBO on his airplane. It's 2 years and $145,000. 2 years.
It's a chunk of change.
When you talk about operating that aircraft, that's no fun. Let's go look at a PT6 like you did. We found you a 100-hour Blackhawk converted. You know what you're doing for the next 3,500 hours.
Nothing.
Right. Exactly. Going flying. We're not
keeping those ice veins extended. Yeah.
Exactly. Basically, you called me up and said, hey, we're going to talk about what airplane. And we began the process of looking at your budget, looking at what you want to do. The idea we needed more than 6 seats because your family's 6 seats, and we're going to have to carry somebody else, grandma, grandpa, friends, whoever, whatever the case may be.
I was lucky that I had my multi-ticket to have a more well-rounded conversation, but to be clear, I have not flown a multi-engine aircraft in like 18 years, and my total multi-time is like 13 hours.
Correct.
Like, so this would be this.
But one of the keys is you've got that stinking rating.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're multi-engine
I wasn't check riding. I didn't have a whole bunch of logistics to go do. I just needed to get comfortable again.
And if there's anybody out here listening to this that's thinking, hey, I want to go to get a King Air, if at the end of it, which is a great airplane. It's one of my very, very favorite airplanes, the King Air lineup. You really need that multi-engine rating prior. You're not going to
go sweating a Seminole before you go.
Go sweating a Seminole or an Apache or Cessna 310.
And guys, I check rode it like 12 hours. Like, it's not a super hard rating to go get. You're not going to sit in a Seminole for 40 hours like you're getting your private.
Correct. Exactly. And you cannot get your rating in a turbine.
No.
It's not going to happen. There's a law, a rule against it. You have to have a special certification as a DPE to be able to give a multi-engine rating in a turbine aircraft. So you're just not going to do it. Bottom line, if you're thinking about this, go get your multi-engine rating in a trainer and then come talk about King Air aircraft, because you're going to have to do it.
After I got my instrument, I just wanted to go get the next rating, and it kind of checked that box, and then never thought about multi again. But glad I had it in my back pocket for the conversation we ended up having, because like I said, my first thing was, do I get back into an M600 SLS or just even an M600? And I'm glad we had the conversation that we did, because this was a fun airplane to fly.
It is. So we basically talked about, okay, we can get into a King. We can get into a King Air, and a King Air is going to do a good job for you. And a King Air 90 is a good airplane, but you end up with.
I think it does less than the M600 personally.
Exactly.
It's for twice the money.
It's slower. It doesn't have as good a pressurization. It's got one big tire on each wheel instead of two.
Payload's similar.
Payload's not as tremendously better. It does have a potty, but again, you're slow. It's hard to go from an M600 to a 90. So we pretty much shelved the 90, threw that off to the side and said, we're not going to go there. That puts you at a 200 or 300, 350 arena. We basically
350 was out of my budget, plain and simple.
Yeah, 350's out of the budget. 300's in your budget. But now you got to go get a type rating. And the complexity of insurance with that type rating.
Have you ever seen me shy away from training?
No, you've always
Yeah,
done it.
but the idea of a type rating just doesn't sound like fun. I come down here and I have a blast training. A type rating doesn't sound as fun to me.
Well, the type
Maybe I'm
rating-
wrong, but
at the end of the type rating, there's an opportunity to fail. You
Yeah.
can fail that check ride. You're not going to fail training. We're just going to
I
do
hope
more of it.
I hope you fail me in training if I don't do it. Actually,
That's what we're just going to do more training. That's exactly. But but one of the things you were really concerned about is that you wanted to be at the upper level of technology. You're a technologically savvy person.
I grew up on a 6-pack. That's where I got my private and my instrument. You know, so I can fly it, but I'm a big believer that the more digital the system, the safer the airplane is.
Okay.
You know, if you got a digital autopilot, you're better off than an analog autopilot. If you've got XM weather, a good radar, strong GPS, I mean, like that's easy to use, easy to navigate when you're busy, and it's where things are. I think it's all the difference in safety for me.
And we basically went to you and said, okay, we can be under $3 million.
Yep.
That's kind of our budget. We're gonna be under $3 million, and we're gonna go find an airplane. And I will tell you, I got hats off to Eric Earl. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Eric Earl! This is the home run of the year. We're not going to say what you paid for this airplane.
I'm pleased.
Yes, Eric, you did great. There's oftentimes
Kudos to Eric.
Yeah. Found a 100-hour per engine Black Hawk converted airplane with a Garmin panel, new paint, new interior, and for a great price.
Now, our initial goal was to buy a plane around the price that I did and then go do all of that work myself.
And
I was going to repaint it. I was going to put a new interior in it. I was going to do a new panel. I was going to do G1000 NXI with the new auto throttle, auto land, all of that stuff. And frankly, I'm kind of happier that I got the TXI and GTNs.
Right, exactly.
They're just, I mean, yes, you give up auto throttle, but in this airplane, I'm not even sure I really like auto throttle, given how we flew it, given what it does.
Okay.
I'm not sure auto throttle is a thing that I would throw in this airplane with a lot of fun.
So now let's expand upon that, because you were pretty big on the auto throttle, and I pretty much said to you, you're getting everything else with this airplane. We can handle the throttles.
Yep.
Talk about the difference in your experience of managing an M600 or a Meridian power lever versus a King Air power lever.
Yeah, for me, the big thing that I loved auto throttle on was on takeoff roll, because you've got to really fiddle with an M500, M600 Meridian-ish to just, I love, a friend of mine said, milk the mouse. You just little bitty adjustments to get takeoff power where you want it. When you're rolling 60, 70 miles an hour down the runway, looking down at your throttle and making fine tunes isn't really what you want to be doing. When you would do a takeoff roll with auto throttle, it just went right to where it needed to go and hold it there. And you're just kind of verifying rather than minutely managing.
Yeah, you're not
Love
milking the
that
mouse.
from a safety feature on takeoff roll with the auto throttle.
100% agree.
You have so much room and power on these Black Hawk engines that, all right, throw it up around here and you're going to go zooming.
That's exactly right. There's so much extra power, and the throw, meaning the
You're not
link,
milking that. Yeah, you're moving it 5, 6, 7 inches, no problem.
no problem.
You
It's
know.
not like this fine thing where you're moving it up just a skosh and you get this huge input.
500 torque increase. Yeah,
Right, exactly. It's a King Air power lever.
nice and linear.
Linear, very easily controllable, grabbing it with a fist. moving it.
And, what I didn't like about the auto throttle system is you had predefined profiles. We're going to climb at this. We're going to descend at that. We're going to, you were doing what the system has set up to do, not what you really commanded to do, unless you're doing indicated airspeed holds, which is not always how you want to manage it, So I really appreciated not having auto throttle on this, because what I loved about auto throttle isn't as big of an issue with this airplane, yet my ability to fly it in whatever custom profile I want in that moment is actually pretty darn easy to manage compared to pressing buttons to get it to where it needs to be.
Correct. Yep. All right, so let's talk about it. You just got through doing a week of training, basically.
Yeah, fun week.
Yeah, it's been a fun week. Give me your impressions of give the audience your impressions of a King Air 200.
Well, I think we're missing one thing before I go on that, because my impression, what I'm overcoming, was my initial impression was that we bought an older airframe.
Yes.
Now granted, 100-hour brand new Black Hawk engines, brand new panel, brand new paint, brand new interior, 1978 airframe. Coming out of a 2021 brand stinking new M600 SLS, that was a change of pace.
Yes.
And something that, frankly, I was pretty nervous about.
Yep.
And
we had to talk you down, talk you through, we had to, this was an area where
this is a big question.
It was almost
for me.
like a trust me.
And the one thing I've learned over 4 aircraft with you now, Joe, is I tend to trust you.
Well, thank you. You know, one of the things, if you just look at the hours of a King Air,
Mhm.
it has a 30,000 hour airframe. You look at a piston PA46 is a 10,000. And I will tell you, one of the things that Piper's really got to deal with is this 6,500 hour M600 airframe. It's going to increase in the future. But
Yep.
Piper, if you're listening to this, you got to do something about that. You got to signal to the community that we're going to be up in that 10,000 hour area. But still, even if Piper gets the M600 up to 10,000 hours, which they say they will and hopefully do,
Yep.
you're a third of a King Air's lifespan. The King Air is built more robustly. It is built more, has more robust everything. It has dual everything. Is just a stronger airframe that feels better. It's going to last longer. The lifespan of a King Air is going to be longer than the lifespan of a Mirage or a Malibu or an M600.
Well, and yeah, there are things that you wrap your head around, like in the shopping process. I do feel like in the shopping process, you get very stuck on details. You know what I mean? Because you're going to, I mean, it's a big purchase for anybody,
Right.
you know, and you're going down to the nth level and you're like, that's a little wrinkle in the leather on the glare shield.
Right.
Because it's a 1970. All right. After 2 hours, you stop even noticing the glare shield.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is there little things that you're like, all right, it's old and it's got a paint, crack right here on the inside of this window well because it's from 1970. Yeah. But you really stop noticing that pretty quickly.
Right.
You know?
If I walked anybody up to your airplane and they didn't know it was built in 1978,
they'd say early 2000s.
There you go. Because the paint's new, the interior's new, the panels.
You really got to look for the quirks, but you can hyper focus on them in the shopping experience, which isn't healthy.
It's not. But at the end of the day, you've got engines that have 3,500 hours left in them. As young as you are, you're probably never going to get to the place where
I could fly this airplane till I die, probably.
You can. It's just and when you do, the airframe is
still going to be good.
It's still a young airframe.
Yeah.
In other words, it's just one of those airframes that they just did it right from the beginning. They did it very, very good. Talk to us about what was it like to fly in other words, multi-engine, like if you're coming out of an M600 and you're going into a King Air, easy or hard transition?
I would say that this is the easiest airplane that I have ever trained on with you.
Hey.
So now turbine, you were learning a little bit more. And from a bookwork perspective, because your entire power plant is the world's different, you know? But from a purely flying it standpoint, I think this is the most stable, easy to land, easy to find an airspeed, easy to control airplane that I think I've ever flown.
Yep. Multi-engine, hard, difficult.
It took me one engine to say, oh yeah, that's how that feels again from 18 years ago. And the second that you feel it once or twice, you're back to, okay, yeah, it's very manageable.
Did it weird you out? We shut down an engine completely.
Oh yeah.
Did it weird you out?
No, not at all. Actually, I thought it was really fun. We took a fun picture of it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we got a high mom.
Just seeing a static propeller out next to your face though is it's a fun feeling actually, you know. And the second that you cut it, I mean, it's not like thrust was gone long before we feathered it. Right. The airplane was in a stable spot, so all of a sudden you're just adding slippier.
You add the trim, make it drive and fly the airplane. It's
super easy.
Especially you got Blackhawks on this thing, so you got extra power. I mean,
and even when you did a V1 cutoff, a couple 100 feet off the ground, it's not going to throw the airplane all over the place. You catch it relatively quickly. It's really stable on the way up, and then you've got plenty of power to just climb right out of it.
Right.
So
you got to fly it right.
Got to fly it right.
You fly it wrong.
Doesn't fly itself. And actually, I think that was maybe one of the things I didn't like about the M600 and its integration is it kind of led you to believe it flew itself, you know, and you had to constantly fight all right, this is not an automated airplane. It's got automated features, but it's not an automated airplane.
Right.
And I like in the King Air, you're feeling the airplane.
That's interesting that you talk about that because there is a feeling with an M600, M700 that, gosh, I'm not really even needed.
I can always press the button.
I can always press the button. Then there's pilots out there that
it's a get out of jail free card, and it's not.
Right. A quality pilot is required. You will end up in a place one day, even no matter brand new airplane, doesn't matter. You're going to end up in a place one day where pilot skills are going to be the thing that's going to get you out of that jam. And button pushing is a skill you need, but you need that skill to be able to fly the airplane.
I did a recurrent with you in my Meridian, and I felt the next year we did my initial on my Meridian. I came to you to do my recurrent, and I'm like, man, I got pretty good at this airplane. I did a lot better this year. With the M600, we did my initial. We'll talk about that later. I came to you to redo my initial because I didn't really feel prepared with how I got my initial from elsewhere. We redid my initial. I thought, I feel good about this airplane. I came back the next year, and I didn't feel tremendously better because it is, I found myself relying on automation. And so after that year, I was like, nope, ham flight up to 10,000. Nope, do they? I mean, fly this instrument approach without the autopilot in a clear day. I had to make myself not just constantly use the automation because I found it degrading my airman skills.
I will. When I fly with a client that for recurrent training that I haven't flown with in a while or haven't flown ever, first recurrent, this is going to sound weird, but if they turn on the autopilot within 200 feet of the ground, I know it's going to be a terrible recurrent training because I know they have gotten to the place where they have lost all of their skills for hand flying, that they're just so used to that.
And don't get me wrong, there are times that's great to have. Hey, we got a busy airspace. We're climbing out into an ice layer. We got the radar. Yeah, get on the autopilot early.
Or congested airspace. Because now you can look outside.
Absolutely. There's 100 reasons that it's really good to get on an autopilot early. But if you have to do it, that's where you're a little worried.
Let's talk about flying the King Air from, you sit up a lot higher. Hard to get over?
Well,
easy?
You were nice enough. I flew down here, nearly a year ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And one of your pilots was nice enough to let me sit right seat and come along as you guys were taking a family.
We have a King Air flight, yeah.
Yeah. And I sat right seat, never been in one before I really kind of shop it. What are we looking at? And it was a 350. It was a beautiful airplane. And I remember when he went into flare and touched down, I was waiting for like another 30 feet to go away before because your sight line sitting in a PA-46, you feel like you're driving a Porsche a little bit. Like you're down low, your butt's on the ground, and you feel like you're hot rodding. This has you're sitting up tall.
Right.
And it was like a different sight line. And I was actually worried about finding that feel. Like, okay, am I going to plant this the first 3 landings? And really, it naturally found ground effect. It was a really easy place to find your flare. I thought it took me, a half a landing to find that sweet spot. And it was a really simple plane to land.
One of the things I do when I'm training is I'll do a takeoff and a landing all by myself. Like, I'm going to do the very best I know how to do what I'm about to do.
Demo it. Yeah.
I'm going to demo this, and then you go do it. And then now you know what the sight picture looks like, and you go from there, and it works off really, really well.
It does.
And it just, it's not.
I actually like that you do the demo part. A lot of guys, and there are things that we walked through, and then there are things you're like, let me demo this and then go repeat. I learn very well that way. Yeah. I like seeing it happen, and I'm like, okay, that's how to do it.
I do the same thing.
Rather than me struggling through it as you're telling me how to do it. If you see it once, it's way easier.
Way easier. You get the whole sight picture, and everything is just a wonderful thing. Today, you're flying away on your own.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. How do you feel?
More comfortable in this plane than when I left initial from Vero Beach in my M600.
Right.
Yeah. I feel really comfortable. Now, am I going home right now to shoot an approach down to 200 feet in icing conditions while I'm using my radar? Absolutely not. No. You know what I mean? I'm going to do the first 100 hours in this airplane. My minimums are going to be 500 feet. My crosswind limitations are going to be 15 knots. If I've got convection, icing, unfamiliar airport at night, that's probably not a trip that I'm taking right now. Now, 12 months, 18 months later, let's build up to that skill set. But to go fly home today on a beautiful day, piece of cake. I think this is going to be great.
Yeah. If you look at your King Air, King Air 200 with Black Hawk conversions, you got dash 52s in there. Yep. You're cruising at about 285 knots at about
280,
520 pounds an hour between the two engines. At 280.
That is the one thing that surprised me, Joe. It does like to drink gas, especially when we're training down at 3,000 feet all day.
Have you noticed the fuel bills?
I'm excited to add them up.
Yeah. But there is an emotional thing of when you go fill up a King Air, you go fill up an M600 or a Meridian. It takes a little more. You're going to write a bigger check.
Well, what's funny is as much as we've been burning, I think we filled up twice in a week. You know, those tanks are pretty big.
It holds a lot of fuel, which means it goes a long way.
It does.
And I'm just convinced that this airplane, for you and your mission, I just have a feeling that I know Eric, again, I'm throwing Eric some good stuff
You
here
should.
because Eric really went out and found this thing. We talked about it and about, can we find this? Can we do it? He found the perfect airplane for the perfect price.
Yep.
And we can do it again. So it's a great airplane as far as that's concerned. But I think for your mission and what you're doing and your pilot skills, in other words, I think you're at a place where you have developed yourself to be able to do this. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for you. And will you come back and talk to us in about 6 months on the podcast
Absolutely.
and say, because it's one thing.
Hey, here's what I've learned. Here's what's great. Here's what's terrible. All that good stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So far, I've yet to find the terrible, but then again, we'll let the bills. We'll let the bills come in.
Yeah, let the bills come in, and but we want to hear about the missions that you've flown, and were you able to carry more, and did the family like it, and the potty, and did they enjoy that? Did you fill up the baggage compartment, and do your kids rotate in and out of the front seats? All the good things that happen whenever you're able to go fly your family and fly business associates where you want to go. It's a cool thing, that's for sure.
We're all excited.
Yeah. King Air, it's a good airplane. I know you're on the Malibu Guru podcast, but we do King Airs here as well. We just think they're really good, really cool airplanes. By the way, I'm a King Air DPE for the King Air 300. So if you need the type rating, we can help you out in that respect. And Patrick Turner, I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate you have leaned into us for more than a decade now.
Yeah, the other reason I got into a King Air is if I went to an M2, I'd stop training with you. And you guys have just been such a great resource, whether it's checking the weather on a weird flight or any of the above. It's been great to have you guys.
It's been great to have you along for the whole thing. Joe Casey and
Patrick Turner
signing off.